good to
So,
go.
so let's pop up. Okay, here are the odds. Let's go to Formula One. Let's see. What is? Oh, what the hell is Formula E?
Oh, you don't want Formula E.
I know. What is that?
Those cars make no noise. They're the electric cars. That's
Oh,
where
geez.
sports
Electric
car
cars.
racers and Formula One drivers hone their craft until they can get back to Formula One, basically.
That's nuts. All right.
It's an entertaining series, but it's very different.
Okay. So I don't even have to go down here. So Max Verstappen, he's
Yep.
starting out at minus 370. Oh, Lordy. At some point, someone or a team or just something's going to happen, and it's not going to be so easy for Max.
It could be this year.
You believe that is possible?
It is possible that it could be this year. One of the biggest, there are really only two news stories that are going on in the Formula One world right now. One of them surrounds Red Bull, which is Max Verstappen's team. Red Bull has been fantastic. A lot of it has to do with Max Verstappen, but a lot of it has to do with Christian Horner and the way that he's built that team and he's led that team. Christian Horner, a couple of weeks ago, was accused of, quote, inappropriate controlling behavior. So that's all we know. We don't know what it was. We don't know any more specifics than that.
Was it
As
with
a
his
team,
car? Was it with his?
well, with a person on the team. Again, though, you're a Formula One team principal. Isn't your job to be controlling and demanding and excessive in pushing to succeed? So again, I don't. We nobody aside from Christian Horner maybe knows the specifics of what happened and what the allegations are. Long story short, Red Bull is investigating him. So they actually hired an outside lawyer to do an investigation. And Christian Horner last week was interviewed for several hours about the circumstances and answered questions, so on and so forth. So there is ripe speculation that Christian Horner will be removed as team principal. Now, I don't think that just because Christian Horner goes away, that Red Bull takes a nosedive and all of a sudden Max Verstappen can't win any races in 2024 is a complete disaster. But if you take away the CEO of a very high performing company that brought that company up to its success and pulled together the people that made that company the success, it's going to deteriorate over time unless you have an app replacement. And we could see Christian Horner out of that role by the early part of this season. It won't have an immediate impact, I wouldn't think, on Max Verstappen, let alone the 2024 season, at least early on. But over time, that might enable the other teams to catch up really quickly.
How weird
So
is that?
that is a story to watch. I think Red Bull will definitely have the drama off the track, like we talked about with Will Power. The drama the issues off the track for him that affected him. Red Bull is going to have that going into the 2024 season. That said, Red Bull and Max Verstappen have been so far ahead of the competition for so long, it is hard to see that they won't get a good head start on the season and then just have to defend no matter what happens in the second part of the season. So I do think Max Verstappen is the rightful just choice. We're really waiting until the new generation of car comes in 2025, and that's really where the second story of Formula One picks up that has been going on right now, which is Lewis Hamilton. The second biggest story, or maybe the biggest story, equal co-important stories in the Formula One offseason, Lewis Hamilton, who has been born and raised by Mercedes, won all of his championships driving Mercedes cars, currently drives for Mercedes, and is probably the main rival to Max Verstappen, probably one of the only ones that could really challenge him nose to nose if they had the right car, announced that he is going to Ferrari in 2025.
Oh,
This will be his last season with Mercedes, the team that he's been with his entire career. So out at Ferrari in 2025 is going to be Carlos Sainz. It's going to be a pairing of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari, and we'll see what Lewis Hamilton is able to do with the Ferrari organization and see what Mercedes is going to do with Lewis Hamilton with just 1 year before he goes off to their competition.
and that could have an impact on everything with the team, correct?
Absolutely. Because they know that Lewis Hamilton is going to a competitor in 2025, they are purposely going to keep him out of any kind of car development, any kind of stuff that they're working on that might have future use. Yeah, he's going to be driving the car. Yeah, he has institutional knowledge of Mercedes and has been there forever. He probably knows the organization as well as anybody. But any of the new pieces, any of the new development, any of the new philosophies that come along with their car design and their strategy, Lewis Hamilton's likely not going to be part of that. So I think Lewis Hamilton is set up for a really difficult year in 2024. I think he's just basically going to try to get the most that he can, help Mercedes try to win the Constructors' Championship, if that's even possible. But certainly as the season goes on, as we get closer to the end of the year, I think you're going to see Hamilton's ability to catch up to anybody that's ahead of him at that point and close the gap is going to be next to nothing.
Okay, so just looking at the futures, again, you can see it's pretty simple. There's the top three, and then you have Lando Norris in between. So is Lando Norris the one that might make out in this? Is there anything going on with the Lando Norris camp? Because if not, it sounds like he could be the one that benefits the most.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think if there's anybody out there that has, so, preface this all with the fact that from a 2024 to 2023 to 2024, there are absolutely no changes in the drivers and the teams for Formula One. So
Okay.
Every single driver is back in the exact same car, the 2024 version, same team for this year. We do have some stuff that can affect that over the season that I just talked about with Hamilton and Christian Horner at Red Bull. But you're right. If McLaren continues on the same trajectory that they were on last year, if they're able to adapt their car to the 2024 design specs, be able to close some of the gap that they had to Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, I do think Lando Norris, the way that he got the speed out of that car last year, if he has a better car this year, he could put himself into the mix. So I think from a stability standpoint and from an ability to be able to close the gap, I think Lando Norris is the one that you want to be looking at. That said, Ferrari obviously is in that mix as well. So Charles Leclerc is staying put. He knows he's staying put for 2025. Ferrari is working on a completely new philosophy for the new rules package that's coming up, and they're going to want to take advantage of that to be able to put Lewis Hamilton, their new signing in 2025, in the best position possible to win a championship as well. So I think the two guys that you got to look at as most likely to be truly challenging Max Verstappen this year, should anything happen to Red Bull or Max Verstappen, going to be Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc.
Okay, and Charles Leclerc is right now at 22-1. And again, we're not just talking about winning a championship, but being able to win a few races.
Win races.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Nobody could do it last year other than Red Bull. But they almost had a shutout in the entire season. But I think 2024 competition is going to get a little bit more tight. I do think Max Verstappen is still going to be head and shoulders above. But if you're looking for people that could close the gap, look at Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, look at Lando Norris in McLaren.
Okay, so Leclerc being the sleeper there at 22-1. And because really, if you think about it, let's see, if you're 22, well, let me see. I'm going to go ahead and we'll pop up the first race. So the first race is in Bahrain. So, and that's going to be taking place on when? When is that?
I think it's March 2nd. The first practice is February 29th, if I'm not mistaken, which puts the first race on the 2nd or 3rd. It looks like the 3rd. So March 3rd.
All right. So Verstappen at 250 to win. Then you have even better odds because Lando Norris is 12-1. Sergio Perez is 12-1. He's a co-second choice. And then there is Leclerc at 14-1. So, I'm just going to give an example. All right, how many races are there?
That's a good question. I want to say 25. Let's see here.
Somewhere around 25 then. All right. So let me give an example while you look that up. And that is Leclerc his odds might be the same for every race, you would think. 14-1, maybe 12-1, 16-1, whatever. Just on average. Because if you think about it, if you think Leclerc could win 2 races, because you're not going to make out too much, of course, if it's one. But let's say he can win 2 races. If you wager on Leclerc every single race and he wins 2 races, you should make money. So
Absolutely.
I think
And there
that
are 24 races. If he stays at 14, you said he was at 14.
Yes.
If he stays there, you are absolutely correct. You're going to be in the money if you pick him every single race.
yeah. So that's again, because we're trying to do the very best we can of how you can make money on this sport. It's not very easy. But that would be the way to do it. And look, you just never know what could happen. Maybe there's an injury. You don't know.
Absolutely right.
Max could get hurt.
Absolutely. Yep. And usually those unexpected things, aside from injuries, those unexpected things with the cars happen in the first races of the season. So once they get back to Europe, that's when the reliability really takes hold and they figure out all their teething problems. But these first couple of races that are taking place in the Middle East, Bahrain, I think Saudi Arabia, some of the other ones, maybe even they go to Australia early on, those are going to be the ones where you see more attrition than you see in other races the rest of the season. So if you want to get on the Leclerc bandwagon at 14-1, I would recommend doing it early. Certainly Lando Norris as well.
Yeah, and everything would be wide open if something were to happen to Max and he was taken out somehow of the season, which nobody wants, of course. Even though he dominates, he's a very important figure. It's sort of like Tiger Woods, how important it was, even though you knew every time he went out there, he was like even money to win a golf tournament, which is just ludicrous. But it is what it is. In one way, it hurts because there's not a lot of money out there to be made in gambling, but on the other end, it's big for marketing the sport. But do you think that then next year you would feel pretty good that we could be closing the gap considerably if everything goes well this year?
Yeah, I think with the new car coming, the new rules package, all that good kind of stuff really resets the stage, and that's what everyone's really working toward.
Okay.
They can evolve their cars, they can evolve the platform. Every year is going to be a little bit different. Somebody's going to find something that somebody else didn't, and that's going to kind of hold throughout the season. But as that current rules package moves on, the competition gets narrower and narrower, closer and closer. It really takes a wholesale rules change to be able to, whether it's the engine package or the complete car, to really reset the bar for everyone.